Oh wow, that's not happening. Even with line smoothing off, it's performing just fine. Instant art! Hello and welcome to another NihongoGamer video. Today we're going to see whether I can draw with two pens at the same time. Now the reason this challenge is going to be possible is because GearBest have sent me two of these tablets which I get to keep at the end of the review. One of them is the ACEPEN 2150 and one is the UGEE 2150. Now I actually only wanted to review the UGEE 2150 because I had never heard of the ACEPEN, but my contact at GearBest said please review this one as well because it's actually made by the same company as UGEE, so it's pretty much exactly the same tablet, but there are a few changes and I'll be going through those specifics at the end. For now, let's just see whether I can draw with both hands at the same time. So before I begin, giant disclaimer, of course both of these tablets were provided me free of charge by GearBest. They cost roughly about $500 each, but maybe a little less if they're on sale, and in fact I think the ACEPEN is currently a bit cheaper than the UGEE, and it has actually a couple features that the UGEE doesn't have, which I may mention through the course of this review. But first, let's set this up for two-handed drawing. Now first things first, let's set up the layers. I'm just gonna hide this layer, gonna bring up a new layer, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use the ruler tool in Clip Studio Paint. So if you're not familiar with this program, it's a program that I enjoy using a lot for drawing, so I highly recommend it. This is actually a trick I saw on Twitter earlier this year, or maybe last year, I can't remember, but if you go into Clip Studio Paint and you choose the very last ruler and you set the number up here to something like 6, click here in the middle and you get this little purple line. So I'll just do it on here as well. There we go. By the way, the reason I'm able to use one pen for both screens is because clearly they are almost exactly the same tablet and they use exactly the same pen. And let's hide the interfaces using Tab. I should be able to draw with both hands at the same time and make unbelievably beautiful patterns. So let's go! Instant art! Alright, 5 seconds and I have completed my art. This is how easy it is to create modern art. Actually, it's not that easy. Let's try this time to draw the same picture with both hands. Now, if I just kind of use this line and swirl... Oh wow, this is much harder than I was expecting. Hey, I think that's come out alright. Now let's see if I can put some little details over here. Oh, I guess it doesn't really matter which quadrant you draw in, you can draw in the same quadrant the whole time. I think that's going alright. Now let's just try drawing from the outermost reaches. Hey, so this is a really awesome tool. Now if I just delete this and delete this, if I were to only use one hand, just to show you briefly what this is actually capable of, you can have little designs like this. It can be very, very, very intricate. This is really, really useful for creating magical rings, or if you're looking for like magical symbols to put into your comic. Using this ruler is a really great way to make it look nice and symmetrical. If it's not something like drawing a character's face, this is obviously not going to be ideal for drawing characters and faces and that sort of thing. But for patterns, you can get some awesome stuff that you easily would never have thought of not using one of these rulers. So for example, even if you just do it completely randomly, you get some really, really cool patterns. Now obviously you don't need two tablets to do this, but because I have two tablets, I just thought that would be quite fun to try. Alright, let's try and draw a circle. It's not really a circle, but it's close. Let's try again. Try and draw a nice round... That's not a circle. Slight rounded edge. Oh, hey, I think that's not bad. That's pretty close to a circle, but also, just so you can see, I'm trying to be pretty steady, but it is actually quite difficult to get a line with no jitter. Because these tablets, just like the Huion products, they do have a little bit of jitter, so do keep that in mind. If I try to draw a diagonal line, you will see a little bit of jitter. That's just something you have to deal with when you're buying a slightly less expensive tablet. So there are things that you won't be able to do that you would be able to do with like a pencil per se. With a normal pencil you could draw a straight line quite slowly and it would look pretty straight, but if you look very, very closely you can see that the cursor does kind of jitter left and right, even if I draw a very straight line. But if you can just get around that, then you can actually save quite a lot of money with these tablets. Plus, you can get a much larger screen, and as I mentioned in previous reviews as well, I would actually prioritize having a larger screen to draw on than having a tablet with absolutely no jitter. When the Surface Studio first came out, I was kind of not that impressed because there was still jitter in the pen, but now that I've had these 21.5-inch screens, and now because I've got two of them, I've got this massive 40-inch widescreen monitor now, I do really appreciate having a larger screen. The question is, do you need a 21.5-inch screen when you could be buying, for the same price, the Huion Canvas GT191? It's essentially a very similar tablet, but it's a bit smaller with more pressure sensitivity on the pen. Compared to other tablets, I would say that the initial activation force is not that great with this pen, so if I put it very lightly like this, you can probably hear it scratching on the page. It's not actually registering any drawing, but if you push a little harder, it does start to draw. So this is one of the things that I think you need to consider when you're looking at these tablets. If you are used to drawing or sketching very, very lightly, you will find it takes a little time to adjust to one of these screens because the initial activation force, I keep calling it that, basically the amount of force required to make the lightest possible stroke is quite high on this tablet and this tablet, obviously because they're identical. N-I-H-O-N-G-O. This is what happens when you try to write with normal words on a symmetrical ruler. Let's see if I can draw a face. Symmetrical drawing. Oh, this is not going well. Oh boy. Oh, I highly recommend you try this. Drawing circles with my left hand. Now that's really, really tough. Oh wow, that's not happening. This is nonsense. Oh man. The mouth this is terrifying. Are you ready for this? Ready? It's not amazing. In a way it is amazing, but not the way that I usually use that term. Now something I'd like to point out is that actually a lot like the Huion GT191 I reviewed, apart from the initial activation force, both of these pens are fairly impressive in terms of pressure sensitivity. So if I push quite lightly, it's light, and if I push hard, I can get a much thicker stroke. So if I use a more obvious pen, like the G pen, at a very light stroke I have almost nothing coming out, but then if I push really hard, of course, I get a very thick stroke. And of course, this is par for the course for a drawing tablet these days. What you don't want to do is move up to one of these expensive, slightly more expensive tablets when you had like a Wacom Bamboo before. You don't want to move up to one of these and actually have lower performance in terms of pressure sensitivity. So rest assured, you've got your pressure sensitivity here. The only thing is that initial activation force, it's not very sensitive. So if I'm just scratching the screen like this, you don't really have a lot. But if I push a little harder, I do get the line to actually register. Because you can hear this, that's actually because this one has a screen protector built in. So if I try and peel this, ouch! If I try and peel this off, you can see there's a screen protector built into the ACEPEN. You can actually put a screen protector on the UGEE as well, it just doesn't come with one. So if you can see, there is a screen protector right here on the ACEPEN, and that really does help it to have a more of a pencil feel. So if you are looking for a tablet and you're coming from the analog realm and you'd like to have something that feels a little bit more like a pencil, getting one with a screen protector is quite nice. Now I don't really understand why, but on the GearBest site this one is actually cheaper than the UGEE, but it also comes with the screen protector built in. The UGEE doesn't have a screen protector, and it's actually a little more expensive, which is strange because a screen protector for a screen of this size actually runs you between $40 to $50. So it's actually quite nice if you want to go for one that already has it and is a cheaper tablet in general. The ACEPEN might be the one to go for. The UGEE, basically, if I were to peel this off, you can't really see from where you are, they are identical screens, so you don't need to worry about, whether this one has a lower quality screen and that's why they've got a screen protector on it, nothing like that. Essentially, they are identical screens, and if you want to have a nice, clear image, you can just pull the screen protector off. I know this is probably stressing people out that I keep peeling this off, but you can just peel this off and use it just like you would the UGEE if you decide that you actually don't want it. With the Huion, it was kind of softly applied, like it was really easy to take off, but this one is actually kind of stuck on a little more strongly, and as a result there's much less gap between the screen protector and the actual glass of the screen. So I think that actually leads to a nicer picture quality. But when you have a screen protector on a tablet like this, you do have a slight kind of blurriness to the screen, whereas if you take it off, it'll look like the UGEE and it'll be nice and clean. I actually prefer to have my screens with no screen protector. That's why I have these gloves, so that I can still glide over the screen without, my hand getting stuck. Now, because these images are just hideous, I'm going to get rid of them. Let's try and draw a slightly more serious picture, just using a slight sketch still. I'm going into the pencil tool now on the UGEE. eyebrows. Let's give him thick eyebrows, that's in fashion right now. I've just realised I've actually done this in the wrong order. I probably should have sketched it on the one with the screen protector and done the line art on a different one, but what I'll do it backwards. So I'm doing the sketch on the one with no screen protector, and I'll do a line work one. I'll airdrop the file over. If you've got experience with a UGEE on tablet, I think you'll probably understand what to expect here. It's really very, very similar. And not to say that they're the same, but this is, and anything that's not a Wacom product, they tend to have a very similar feel. I don't know if they're using the same parts or what. Now this guy's eye needs to be moved over. I know I always say that I don't really advise doing that, but hey, it's digital, so we can cheat. This is pretty much the picture. Let me just zoom out so you can see. Drawn a little face here. Now what I'm going to do, as you can see, the sketching was absolutely no problem. I do find that on these screens, these non-Wacom tablets, I do kind of peck and scratch a little more than I would with an iPad or with a pencil. I'm actually quite impressed with how it's performing. It's got a much nicer feel than I was expecting, I think. Alright, that's pretty much the sketch complete. Let's send it over to the other Mac. Alright, so I've airdropped my file over to my other computer. Let's open it up on here. Obviously it looks exactly the same. Okay, I've got my G Pen up, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to use a little bit of line smoothing. I'm actually getting used to line smoothing. I used to hate the idea of line smoothing because I was kind of like a purist. I was like, if you use line smoothing, that's cheating. But actually, because a computer is not really as smooth as an analog pencil yet, if you want to get similar results to what you get on analog, a little bit of line smoothing is actually a good idea. So I'm gonna set to level 6 here on line smoothing, and let's go ahead and let's see if we can do some line art. This is so luxurious. I know that I've said this before on the 19-inch Huion GT191, but this is, I feel it's actually noticeable. I thought it wouldn't be noticeable, just a few inches, but a few inches makes a big difference. You know what? I didn't think I was gonna say this, but I actually really like that this has a texture on the screen. It really does help the pen grip on a little more closely. I'm not saying that you should buy this one over the UGEE because they are pretty much the exact same tablet. The only thing that worries me is that I've never heard of ACEPEN before, even though I'm pretty sure that UGEE owns it. I don't know for certain. It feels kind of strange to buy from a company that you've never tried before. The performance on this pen is much better than I was expecting. If you only use Wacom products for a long time, you may start to think that it's like Wacom or die. Only Wacom and nothing else is any good. But Wacom, I mean, although they do make a really high performance product, wow. When I was contacted to do this review, I was like, I don't know, UGEE, ACEPEN, I've never heard of them, I'm pretty sure they're going to be awful. Now that I'm trying them, I'm kind of glad that I said yes. Using line smoothing, I'm having no problem. Let's see, if I turn line smoothing off, how does it look? Let me see. Actually, even with line smoothing off, it's performing just fine, especially because I'm drawing quite quickly. Now, if I were to draw slowly, you know what, even if you draw slowly with line smoothing off, it's no problem. The only problem is if you're drawing an absolutely perfect... Hey, you know what? The jitter maybe isn't as bad as I thought it was. And viola. So there you have it. That is a very simple pencil illustration and line art using the UGEE 2150 and the ACEPEN, maybe AP 2150. more or less identical drawing performance. But I will just mention, and I did say that I would say this later on in the video, this one comes with a screen protector. It's about $40 cheaper on average on the GearBest website, and on the back of it, it has a headphone jack. So audio coming from your computer will actually come through to this screen, but you obviously can't control the volume from the screen, so you'll need headphones that have a volume control. The UGEE 2150 actually has no headphone jack. In fact, the Huion GT191 also had no headphone jack. So actually the ACEPEN, I quite like it because it has this headphone jack. The only thing is, ACEPEN, who are they? It's not a brand that I had previously heard of. So one thing that I will not say is that I think these tablets are going to last or not last, because I have not owned them for very long. I've had them for basically 3 weeks, and essentially I was away on holiday for a couple weeks, so I didn't have much time to actually draw with them because I was actually on holiday. But the performance far exceeded my expectations. For, I thought it's such a shame to have a lower pressure sensitivity pen just so that I can have a larger screen. But actually, now that I've used it, I would say the larger screen is actually worth it. You don't have to go and get the 8,000 pressure levels of sensitivity. In fact, I also got used to the initial activation force. I thought, oh no, having a pen where you have to push a little bit harder is gonna feel unnatural. It's really not a problem for me. It may be different for you, but personally I was able to get used to it, got my pencil sketch done, got my line art done. The pens are identical between both tablets. This one's a little bit cheaper, this one's a little bit more expensive, but this one comes, and this one, sorry, not but, and this one comes with a screen protector and a headphone jack. They're huge, and there's no way you could have got this level of performance at this price point, years before, when I was getting into digital drawing for the first time. Now you can get this level of performance for about $500 or less, depending on which website you go to. I will obviously put the links in the description below because I'm pretty sure that GearBest has sent them to me because they want you to buy them, and I'm pretty sure some of you have already decided that you want one, so do check out the links in the description box below. I'm actually quite impressed, much more impressed than I was expecting to be. I think maybe I'm just bowled over by having such a large screen. This is quite nice. It's also kind of a new experience for me drawing at this bar stool table. I could actually go pretty high on my chair. One thing I didn't really mention during the video because I just kind of forgot about it is also parallax. Parallax is quite similar to the Huion tablets. There is parallax. It's not like a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro or Cintiq Pro where they have almost no parallax, but you do have to spend between $1,500 to $2,500 for a tablet like that. Whereas for this, you do have to deal with the parallax, but you get it at a price like $500 or $461, whatever the price may be. I didn't even know what parallax was until someone pointed it out to me, and then after it was pointed out to me, I was like, oh, that's why it feels a little bit different. You may feel that it's different, but you may not know why. If you do have a chance to try a Wacom 27-inch tablet, you'll see generally what kind of feel it's like to have parallax, but you get used to it. Instead of drawing exactly where the pen tip is, you just look at the cursor to know exactly where the line is going to be. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm highly impressed by these two tablets. They are more or less exactly the same tablet, so I would just choose the one that's cheaper if I were going to buy one. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, share links and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next NihongoGamer video.